No one is unaware, the Philion Imperial Academy is the premier vanguard education institution across the entire empire. With renowned professors from across the continent and an immense endowment from the major noble families of the empire, it is a place that offers students the best educational opportunities. It holds enough prestige to be called a factory that produces heroes. Its reputation is immense, being the birthplace of the great General Addition. Master swordsmen like Shulafan, notorious criminals, and even ice sorcerers have emerged from there, among many others. Those from Philion proved quite useful during the war, useful to the extent that one can comprehend why the Grand General emphasized it, and Ronan can understand why General Addition mentioned it for him. However, with such high entry standards, coupled with an enormous fee, its current fame has become a concern for Ronan. But when he thinks about Irul's absolute trust in him, his determination rises even higher. He stops in his tracks and declares decisively, "I will show her the results." Having said that, he looks ahead at the figure in front of him and adds, "By the way, I didn't know you would be here earlier." Mazel, emerging hesitantly from the shadows of the tree, corrects his words, "Not Mazel, it's Acel. And besides, you said you wouldn't let me off if I didn't come." So Ronan smiles at him and speaks up, "Forget about that, will you? Tonight, we will be quite busy. And there are a few things I need to check about you." Saying this, he throws his backpack over his shoulder. Acel startles at his words, "A test? You just said something strange." Ronan calmly remarks, "Nothing too serious, just a little test," he adds. "Use your psychic abilities on me, Acel. Raise me to the highest with your abilities, let's see what you've got." Seeing him take the initiative to make himself the subject of the experiment, Acel is extremely surprised, feeling confused about what to do. Acel doesn't understand why Ronan would suggest something potentially dangerous, but Ronan simply says, "It's not that dangerous, just do as I said, for starters. I won't die, so don't be afraid, just follow my instructions," Ronan says determinedly, and Acel can only comply with his request. "You slowly use your magic," Ronan instructs. Each strand of magical energy forms into a magical hand, then advances towards Ronan. Ronan seems to sense an intangible presence reaching towards him. It lifts Ronan off the ground. This sensation fills him with growing hope. Although there are still shortcomings in terms of height and balance, this sensation is reminiscent of when he fought that giant. In the battle with a Hayute, it was what enabled him to fight on equal terms with that wretched individual. It was the power of psychic strength. Psychic strength is a rare ability, and it is also considered rare among the ranks of wizards. This implies Acel will become one of the most crucial factors to provide support in the battle against a Hayute. This beginning is indeed not bad. Not long after, Acel began to tremble, finding it increasingly difficult to maintain control. Just as he's about to end the magic, Ronan stops him, requesting him to hold on a little longer to check something. That is Ronan intending to descend himself, which truly confuses Acel. As of now, he's the one controlling the magic, and if he doesn't release it, Ronan would find it difficult to come down. Ronan answers these questions with the action of unsheathing his sword. He swings his sword down forcefully towards the source of the psychic energy supporting him. Acel stands frozen in place, unable to believe Ronan's actions. "Just now, I cut off the mana stream you created. You want an explanation for this action," but he simply shakes his head. "Nothing really, just a somersault move I've known how to do since forever." Acel still wants a detailed explanation, but Ronan taps his head because, in reality, he doesn't know why either. However, Ronan considers this as a kind of homework, something to figure out and understand the nature of this skill. The reason his sword can affect that giant, perhaps if he solves this question, he will know why. But this is not urgent, there are other matters that need his attention now. He picks up his backpack and says, "Anyway, Acel, you passed. Before the moon completely disappears, we need to take care of some things," he says, then tosses his backpack to Acel. Acel hesitates a bit, unsure about what needs to be done in this dark night. Ronan asserts, this could become the first chapter in Ronan's autobiography, the greatest book in the entire empire. On the way, Ronan explains the purpose of this journey, leaving Acel in awe after hearing it. Acel thinks he might have misheard, especially when the destination they are heading to is the Philion Academy, a place exclusive to the elite members of the empire. Even more unbelievably, he and Ronan are heading there. Ronan is annoyed by Acel's persistent disbelief. Ronan turns to ask, "So, you don't want to go?" Acel hurriedly replies, "No, that's not the issue. You have talent in martial arts, so you should be fine, but I don't know anything." Acel expresses his concerns. "And on top of that, I'm both cowardly and clumsy," Acel adds. Ronan immediately interrupts his self-deprecating words, "Hey, Acel. Do you want to keep living like this? With the talent you already possess, you're wasting it by being a joke for the world. Is that really the life you want? To be honest, you have a foolish way of thinking, you're timid and clumsy. You're like a crybaby, shedding tears for every reason, and you're afraid of failure. Each word from Ronan's mouth feels like a sharp intellect arrow aimed straight at Acel. Just as Acel is feeling disappointed in himself, Ronan says, but that's okay because from now on, you can still change, however. The time that has passed cannot be regained. And one day, you will regret it. Speaking of this, it seems like you might be reflecting on yourself. You've also experienced regret like that, haven't you? Regret loomed over me in my previous life. After stabilizing his emotions, he asked Acel, what do you think, have you changed your mind? Hearing this, Acel looked at him in astonishment. His words left her feeling extremely embarrassed. He didn't expect that Ronan had been concerned about someone like him all this time. Of course, Ronan had no idea how far his thoughts had traveled. He continued speaking, I won't force you, as this is your life, so, if you want, you can return to that way of life. Stop, I'm busy now. Just as he turned to leave, Acel exclaimed in panic, wait, Ronan, I want to change too. I will come to Philion with you, so tell me what I need to do. Ronan smiled as he saw his goal accomplished. Then he appeared serious and praised, all right, this is the first time you've shown your masculinity, so, for Acel's great masculine debut, let's get started. Seeing Acel's agreement, he continued with a satisfied smile. At the cave in the woods, there was a campfire ahead. Acel startled, looking in that direction. Sweat beads formed on Acel's forehead with Ronan's first instructions. This is the best opponent I've found, to bring out all of Acel's talents. It's a benevolent fairy spirit. Moreover, it's the leader of its kind. Ronan chuckled gleefully, patting Acel on the shoulder. For him, this was fantastic. However, his companion standing nearby had turned pale long ago. Ronan smiled and said, now, shall we begin? Acel and Ronan were standing on the side, observing the lunar beasts. Both dared not make a sound, fearing that any noise would attract their attention and endanger them, risking their lives in the process. They had wrinkled, golden skin, and their bodies were distorted with long horns on their backs. Some of them had tangled hair, along with long, sharp claws, and they stood at a height similar to that of humans. However, the most noteworthy aspect here is their intense greed for wealth, gold, silver, and treasures. In essence, they are extremely excited, revealing sharp, dagger-like teeth. Their primary hobby is to roam around, ruthlessly slaughtering innocent villagers and looting all the possessions of merchants, leaving nothing behind. Finally, they would gather to celebrate their victories, indulging in a lively feast. They would come together, dancing and singing joyously as if they had achieved a great triumph. They would place everything into a box atop a pile of straw, then raise their hands in triumph. Typically, these lunar beasts would organize their celebrations at night to avoid drawing attention to themselves. Acel ran up, clutching Ronan's sleeve, and asked, so, what's the reason we came here? Ronan replied nonchalantly, He looked towards them with fascination as he observed the pile of gold, silver, and treasures, as that was precisely his objective. Acel looked at them anxiously, worried that both of them would be in danger. It was the first time he had witnessed such a terrifying and demonic scene. Suddenly, he asked, but how do you know about that? The young man nonchalantly brushed off the question and then pulled out his backpack, getting ready with the equipment. The young man excitedly draped an arm around the other's shoulders, causing him to blush as Ronan discussed the plan for him. Acel harbored some doubts about the success of this plan. Just the thought of both of them being captured sent shivers down his spine, and the idea of them ending up in the clutches of those creatures was terrifying enough. Just thinking about it was enough to send shivers down his spine, so Acel tried to stop Ronan from proceeding with the plan, fearing it would be like selling themselves to demons. We should reconsider, he urged, as Ronan, annoyed, spoke sharply, you're as timid as a rabbit. So, he immediately presented two options to Acel. If they wanted to enter the academy, they needed a significant amount of money, enough to cover tuition fees and sustain their lifestyle. The next crucial factor is the need for combat skills and personal strength to have a chance at stepping into the academy. The young man looked at Acel with a serious expression, stating a truth to wake him up. Ronan analyzed it thoroughly for Acel, emphasizing that there was only one way to win against those people. At this point, Ronan's eyes sparkled with the light of ambition because, naturally, the only way forward was to take risks and face life or death. Ronan, while looking at the group of monsters, chuckled sarcastically, as they were the perfect prey for his mission. So, he bombarded Acel with questions, who was now huddled up. Did I say something wrong, or do you have a better idea? Acel, shrinking back, could only shake his head. I don't, but... Ronan cut him off, saying, well, then let's just decide on this. The young man slapped his friend on the shoulder, signaling the start of the mission. So, Acel used his strength to pull out the entire pile of diamonds, gold, silver, and jewels, placing them into Ronan's pocket, including weapons and various other items. He had just completed the task, yet his heart was filled with anxiety and fear, breathing heavily and rapidly. The last items dropped included swords and pearl necklaces. Asel smirked, content with this pile of money. Now, with it, she wouldn't have to worry about starving to death. His eyes showed joy as he looked down at the money in his pocket, gently shaking it to feel its weight. The result of their spoils was 2 bags full of money. Ronan patted Asel's head, praising him for doing a great job. Initially, he himself didn't think Asel could be that good, so he was quite surprised when he saw his talent. Asel, now secretly happy, felt relieved that they had finished this mission. However, shortly after, his heart suddenly fell out. As for the young man, he was thinking about the possibility of continuing to exploit him and forcing him to work as an errand boy. The young man's eyes most clearly expressed that ambition and ideology, the eyes of an extremely greedy person. Ronan put the money in his pocket and coughed before speaking. Okay, the bags are full of gold, let's go. He replied excitedly, so, the job is over. Ronan nodded, well, there's nothing left for us to do. Ronan nodded, well, there's nothing left for us to do. That night, the moon was very bright, and the night scene was extremely peaceful. While everything was calm and quiet, 2 crazy guys appeared out of nowhere, running wildly through the forest, cursing as they went. Damn it, the 2 were chasing a black bird ahead at a fast pace. Standing there, both were startled by the screams of the 2 strangers. Ronan cursed in bewilderment, what is it? What kind of crazy people are making noise in the middle of the night like this? The sudden noise abruptly awakened a moon monster. It grumbled a few times, looking at the treasure chest and muttered to itself, late at night, where is that noise coming from? Too late now. So, it was done. It realized that their money box had no coins left. It immediately let out a loud cry, calling its comrades, thief. Wake up, there's a thief. They all quickly grabbed their weapons and discussed among themselves, trying to find out which scoundrel dared to steal their treasure. Suddenly, a noise from behind caught their attention. And that's how both unlucky individuals caught the attention of the moon monster beasts. So, this time, both of them would still have to run until they were vomiting blood. Ronan cursed in his head, oh, shit. They all rushed forward to attack like crazy. Asel hugged his pale face, extremely frightened. He sat down in fear, only Ronan was calm enough to throw his bag of money aside, ready to fight. He sighed, it really couldn't be that easy. He trembled and asked if he had to throw the bag of money and run away. Of course, Ronan never agreed. The young man would be the one to properly defend against the robbery, raising his sword to fight. The demon beasts were rushing at lightning speed with ferocious expressions, their blood-red eyes clearly visible in the darkness. As soon as he saw them approaching, he shouted his name, Ronan, they're coming. They roared and charged fiercely. The young man was very calm, slowly drawing his sword, carefully analyzing the sword, and then continuing his calculations. The young man calculated in his head, I'll probably be able to make about 15 cuts. Ronan estimated how many opponents there were to choose the situation for the fight. The moon demon had pounced very close, just a bit away from him in its hand. Asel only dared to stand behind and scream his name, urging him to do something so that both of them wouldn't die. At the end of the day, the young man finally decided to attack them. The young man held the sword tightly. The 3 guys' heads were blown away in one go, so there was no need to say much. He looked bewildered at a sword art performance, their heads and blood mixed together and flying in the moonlit night sky, each head falling down. Ronan smiled happily, his eyes clearly showing intense and ferocious desire.